Now, the third one we're going to talk about in this class is positive and negative space. And you'll oftentimes, especially in art, hear this referred to as figure ground. How many of you, raise your hand if you've heard to this referred to as figure ground? Raise your hand. Nobody? Okay. Well, now you have. That's unusual. Usually it's about split in who's heard it one way or who's heard it another. Both ideas, both groups of words are suggesting the exact same thing. We're talking about the balance of space which is filled and the balance of space which is empty to achieve a desired effect. And we've seen this through our examples. You talked about it right at the beginning, Jeremy, right? When you talked about those circles real early on. Whoops. Where were we? Right there. This utilizes positive and negative space to sort of make our eye complete the circle. It's not the driving force of the design, but it utilizes it. All right, so positive and negative space. You've got space which is filled. I love this question. And you've got space which is empty. So in this case on this screen, what is filled and what is empty? Okay, describe that.
So you've got implied circles, and where the circles are overlapping, that's the filled space.
Okay.
The empty space is where they're not overlapping.
All right. Excellent. So the areas that are black, right, are the areas where you are saying that they are filled, right? Although, so those of you who are in sort of the computer world already, possibly more so than some of the art students, if a pixel is on or a pixel is off, what does that look like? Do you know? So a pixel can be either on or off. Light can be projected through it or not. It's an interesting sort of conundrum. The same thing is true for my art people. If I were to draw this on black paper with white charcoal, what is filled and what is empty? Right. So there's different ways of looking at it, and that abstraction of looking at it in two directions can really help you to make some really compelling different decisions as you go through when you see this as a fluid choice of space which is filled and space which is empty. Now, I'm going to show you two examples. The one on the left, a much simpler example. The one on the right, a decent example, but a really bad example of positive and negative space. Why would I show you these two things? Because we tend to hear the word space, and we want to make things look like they hold space. My rule of thumb, when you're an art student trying to illustrate something using just positive and negative space, is if you have to use lines, you're not doing it very well. If you have to make these cube shapes hold space, you might want to think a little bit more about it. Now, this definitely has some good stuff going on, especially in the foreground section here, where we've got this nice, like, sort of white area, and we've got some dark areas and some light areas. We're starting to kind of show that. But over here, where you're going to have to hold a square area for each of the designs that you make, I love in this example that we let the negative space hold that all on its own. We don't need a stroke around it. We don't need a line around it. This certainly still holds the same amount of space as this design where they felt like they had to put this black outline around the whole thing, doesn't it? And the negative space held down here, and then the positive space, though very literal, definitely tells the same story, but really more of it is happening from the negative space here and the positive shapes here holding that whole amount of space for this design. All right?